Hello everybody, my name is Curtis Sheldon and I'm part of the group for the MyNotes app. My team members are Maher and Omar. And just a quick idea of what our application is about. MyNotes is a way for a user to create and save notes for themselves, and the way they do this is through the use of a book and a page. And a book has multiple pages, and the pages are where they write the contents of their notes. And I'll demo that all in a second, but first I want to open the debugger. So right now we're in our main activity class. I'm going to start our debugger. I got the breakpoint set on to onCreate, which is the first thing that's going to be hit. And due to time constraints, I already tried recording this once before and I got past 13 minutes, so I'm going to try to not spend too long stepping over things. So anyway, we hit this breakpoint. Nothing's showing because it still has to set that content view to actually render out this XML file. So let me step through that. So we do use butter knife in our solution. Then we have these two fields here, which I do want to go over. But to show you that, I need to zoom program. Okay, so this is kind of what we're talking about. So load autocomplete. This corresponds to this autocomplete text view we have up here. So as you can see, we have this list of pre-populated data. And say, for instance, they type in IT, then all these results will then show up. So that's the function of the load autocomplete method. And then we have load list view, which corresponds or it relates to that in the sense that excuse me, I choose IT1. You get book by name. You see the one with the 3 and it disappeared because it's not a matching result, and that's our list view right here. So onCreate loads the autocomplete and it loads the list view. And then from here, let's see. I'm going to save this for last because this is where we actually persist to our database. Okay, so get book by name. Let me put a breakpoint here. So basically what it's doing is when I click this, it gets that text that we have in there. So IT1, just what I typed in. Alright. And then it checks to see the matching results, and it adds it into a list, which is they're then gonna show up here if they exist in the list. And then it does some validations to make sure the array is actually, not empty. Okay, great. And we also have some toasts to say, that doesn't exist, or, don't enter an invalid thing. So, if this was nothing, then it'll hit that first toast because it equals nothing. Boom. And then see if I can hit that second toast, which is down here, which basically says that so this wasn't blank, there was actually something in it, but now it tries to get the book name and it'll find that it's not in this array, so then the array is actually excuse me, empty. So that says no notes were returned for the search value because there aren't any matching results. Alright, so I'm going to resume the program. Alright, so from here we have these items in the list view which correspond to different books. I'm going to set a breakpoint in there so I can show you. So if I click on one of these, you'll see it hits this. It gets the selected item, just that IT1000. It creates a new intent, which is going to be for this view book activity class. Alright, and it starts that activity. So now I'm going to resume that. And I'm sorry, I'm not stepping into things explicitly. I'm just going to get more control over everything in terms of time. So now in view page activity, has the onCreate, which I don't want to spend too much data on. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at actually viewbook. So it has this load data. So if I go back and I click this again, okay, cool. So we're in here. Actually, I want to step past that. Okay, cool. So now we're in viewbook, load data. And what it's going to do is it's basically going to say, okay, that's the book name, sets the author with some dummy data we prepared for it. And all of these are the same in the sense that they all have the same dummy data, testing book, Harry Potter, and some fancy words. Excuse me. So now, you can see from view book activity, there's two buttons, previous and next. So, previous button just calls this finish method, which basically returns to the main activity and terminates this activity. So I'm not really going to go over that, but we have this new page method as well, which corresponds to this next button. I click that, creates the new intent, which is going to be for, we're in view book, now we're going to be looking at view page. So you can see view page activity, creates an intent, and then it starts the activity. So if I, let's see, resume that. Okay, now you'll see we're in view page activity where I previously put my breakpoint. And then here, for loading data, what it's doing is it's setting the page number to 1, because it's the first page we're on. So every time this is first created, it sets it to page 1, which makes sense. So let me resume. Alright, so this is what that looks like. And here they would be free to, edit this however they want. This is where they're keeping their notes. This is the page number. Previous has some logic in it, in the sense that, let me actually just show that. So it gets the number, which is going to be 1 because it's page number 1. And if it's 1, then it finishes this activity. So basically it's going to take us back to the view book activity. There, you see that. Alright, so let me get rid of these old breakpoints so I don't drive myself crazy. We already went through that. Alright, so next, or if it was on the next page and they hit previous, you'll see now it's not equal to 1, it's on page number 2, so it decrements the number, now it's 1, and it sets it to 1 for the page number and the title. So, if I resume that, okay, now we're back on page 1. And then for the next button, it basically does the same thing as the previous page, this bit of logic, but instead it increments instead of decrements it. So now it's 2. And if I resume that, great, we're on page 2. So I'm going to remove these breakpoints. I'm going to go back to our main activity. Now that we went through the view page and the view book activities, new page activity isn't totally set up, but now I want to go over the new book activity. So if I go back here, I really need to stop forgetting about these breakpoints. Okay, so this is where we add a new book, and this is where we persist to our database, and that's going to come right in here. So if I set that, click that, so now step through. Now from main activity, it's going to this new book activity. So you'll see on create, I don't want to spend too much time on that because I'm already approaching 9 minutes. Alright, so let me just resume this so we can actually see this. Alright, so we got the the book name, the author, and the description. And the main function I want to focus on due to time constraints is this save. So if I enter something new, we'll say some book by some author with some description. Alright. And then I hit save. This is where it actually starts hitting our backend. So it's grabbing the text values from those fields, making sure none of them are empty. Alright, now we have this user DTO, which is actually, in our book DTO, we actually have a user object as an attribute, which we're going to use for the author name, which we provided before. Then it sets that user, so now we have the username essentially. It sets the title for the book and it sets the description, and then it calls this book service class. So I'm actually going to step into this. Alright. Oh, I want to say, I want to go into the save function of the book service class. Alright, great. So you'll see the save takes that book object, which we gave it, and then it has an implementation, this book info DAO, which is an implementation of this interface, and this has a save method. So the service class called the DEO, and then the DEO, this is where we have our Firebase connection. So if I step through there, alright, it gets the instance, then it gets the reference, and this is my Firebase project, and then it pushes it. So I can actually show that real quick. And there it is. Some author, some book, with some description. And I am literally 1 minute from being overtime. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here. And thank you guys very much. And I hope that serves as some proof of concept for our app. Ultimately, things would need to be fleshed out in the future, but I think it does serve as a proof of concept for the most part, and I hope you guys agree too. Thank you.